Good evening and welcome to another MTD podcast. This is the uncut podcast on the road with MTDCNC, which is broadcast every Friday evening at 6 p.m. We talk about the highlights of the week that we've just undertaken and the things that we're going to be doing. Is that a good word, undertaken? I suppose it is.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Undertaken, and what we're going to be up to in the next few days. Once again, it has been a very busy week for all the team at MTD. What you will notice from this podcast is that we're actually out today. We're out of the studio. We're doing this from the Engineering Technology Group in Wellesbourne. This is where we're also going to be hosting a live event on June the 30th, which we'll talk more about during this podcast. Today, I'm joined by two colleagues, Joe Reynolds and Lyndsey Vickers. Good afternoon, guys. How are you keeping? Lyndsey, are you all right?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, all good. The heat.
Not too hot. Is the heat getting to you these days?
You look well. You look blooming. That's a posh thing, the polite thing to say, isn't it? You're
said
blooming.
this morning, but my face gets rounder and I don't like it. So
it always was round. So how long have you got to go now?
2 months today.
2 months?
Yeah, but actually with it. Is it the 10th or 11th today? It's about 2 months.
About 2 months to go. Joe, you're looking all right. You're looking trimmed. Lyndsey's
Less
getting
round.
bigger and you're getting smaller. This diet that you've been on is seems to be better than mine.
Well, I don't know what to say to that, Paul. Thank you. Yeah, I've cut a bit of weight.
Yeah, you feel much better for it?
My knee does. Yeah, my knee does.
Well, didn't you have a touch of gout as well, you were telling me the other day?
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, gout. Yeah, I get it probably twice a year maximum. Twice a year maximum. Yeah.
What does it do to you? What happens with gout?
Are we really discussing this?
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. Yeah. Gout, I'm sure many of our listeners have had it. Certainly if you're fit and healthy like myself, you will have had gout, I'm sure. But essentially it feels like, you've had it, Paul, surely. You're a similar build. It feels like you're being stabbed by a needle in whatever. Normally I get it in my toe, occasionally in my knee, but this time it was my ankle and you cannot do anything.
Sounds like cramp.
Is there medication for it?
There is, and it's fantastic. I'm not one for pills. And these tablets, headache pills, they don't tend to work, do they? But gout, literally 2 days, it's gone.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you're better. I'm glad you were able to get here today.
I'm glad we discussed that.
I'm glad you brought it up, Paul, honestly.
Now, we'll talk in more detail about Joe's health ailments in due course, I'm sure.
It's a podcast on its own.
Coming up in today's show, what have we been up to this week? Well, Monday we were at 76 Projects. Tuesday we were at Technoset in Rugby. We were also at SMW Auto Block on Tuesday. I was at Roscomac on Wednesday. We had Zeiss in the studio on Thursday. We were also at the Myra Technical Academy on Thursday, preparing for an event which we've got next week as well, which we'll tell you more about in the show. So let's pull these apart. Let's start with Monday, Lyndsey. You were at 76 Projects. It was quite an interesting visit, I hear.
Yes, it was. They've got a facility in Peterborough. Really, really interesting. So they've just invested in a HP multi-jet fusion, so a 3D printer. They specialise in the cycling industry and parts for bikes. A lot of what they do is semi-bespoke. So it's quite interesting. So they've got products that they create and it's quite interesting and fits quite nicely with you. And you've got it in front of you here. I think that's called the Little Piggy.
Named after Paul, that one.
It would be Big Piggy.
And it's to look after, say, the pump on your bike or anything like that, or anything that you need when you're going out cycling. If you've got a puncture, then it all kind of fits on your bike.
Well, they say that the best inventions are the most simple ones. I've got to say, it's pretty simple, isn't it? Is there not anything? Do they not have somebody else that
more
produces?
for durability. So other people, don't get me wrong, can create these, but it's more their patented products. So yes, that can happen, but normally people might strap something onto the bike and it swings round. So this is more for professionals that are doing long tours. Mark Deadman, he'll do, say, the ATAP. He'll do the ATAP, and it's a little bit high level, but then it goes on to another level where, they've got parts that they're making that have just been accepted to go to the Olympics this year, and making helmets more aerodynamic, and it's a clip-on. So there is a helmet and it has this clip-on that comes on, fits to it. But what they're making is a more bespoke product that fits the rider more specifically, and then it will shave minutes off these professional times. So they're a little bit more upmarket for the cycling industry. And of course, over lockdown, their demand
Busy.
has just gone mad. And we talked about bikes. Some of the bikes that even people ordered in lockdown still aren't here yet. And so their business is evolving, and they're 3D printing parts.
There's so much you can do with a bike. I mean, I'm a novice cyclist, but I mean, there's always this aim. You want to try and get to sort of a 20 mile an hour average. That's really what every cyclist, I mean, a professional goes well beyond that, but as somebody that's amateur, that's just trying to keep fit, you want to get to that 20 mile an hour mark. Over a sort of 30, 40 miles. Mark's obviously a very keen cyclist and very good at it, but it's hard. You can add things to your bike in order to do that. You can change the wheels, you can, like you say, change the helmet. Storage, the lightness, the carbon fibre, the forks, all of these things you can change to get those extra, even albeit small, little gains which make you faster as well. And
that's where their industry has gone. And so they're 3D printing parts, bringing it in-house from outsourcing, but then it's opening up other avenues for them. So their customers then are then going back to them because they've got this machine, this HP 3D printed multi-jet fusion. Because of that, they buy it from Matsuura. Because of this, their customers are coming back as well. The other way around, so it's opening up so many avenues for them.
So that's all they do. They don't. I presume volumes don't.
It's not volume work.
So there's no. You don't need injection molding machines. 3D printing's perfect.
That was the route they went down before, and this is the route now. And it's improvement in materials, opens more scope, and they are also going down the route of being able to work with prototypes and make minute changes, and Matsuura have really helped them with this. And in fact, Matsuura have got machines, and they're also using Matsuura's machines to help with their projects. So there's a really tight-knit relationship with the two of them.
That's the best thing about 3D printers, isn't it? You can literally, we could be sat around this table now, come up with an idea, and just print something. And if it's not quite right, we need to change that. The printer doesn't know if it's a complex or a straightforward.
And with the HP printer, it's all about what you can get in that case, isn't it?
Yeah, 380 mil, I think it is cubic square, and then.
So you could print 1,000 if they were small, or you could print 100 if...
And different shapes, so it could be 1,000 different parts, as long as it fits in that square. And I think all of the software and everything kind of absorbs that, and then you go, this is what I want, and then it puts them all, everything at different angles, so as it appears, then you get all these products that just appear out the top.
So Joe's written on his card, and that's what he was asking me to say, does it some of these things work on his electric bike that he uses? Can he get more speed out of his electric bike by using 3D printed
It's aerodynamics, Joe.
Can I be controversial?
No?
Go on. Ish.
I can't think of anything worse than cycling. Honestly, I just can't. If I kind of get running, but I find that boring as well. So gym, I get all those personal goals.
I gave you a bike. Do you remember? When I bought my new bike, I gave you my old bike.
What have you done with that? It's
in my office with a turbo attached to it. A turbo, so when you spin on thin air and it links to your computer. And I won't tell you last time I used it because Paul may be offended, but I just can't think of anything worse than cycling. You've got to cycle somewhere and get home again. You could do that twice as quick in the car, can't you? And actually spend valuable time doing something you enjoy.
And that's why we have two different body shapes.
You're not as big as you once were, though, Paul.
Did you know 3D printing was started in 1984 by a guy called Chuck Hull, who invented the process called stereolithography. SLS, basically.
Yeah.
That's what I'll make a note of that quickly. No, really interesting, and looking forward to seeing those videos, which will be coming very soon to
we've got a swarf as well. We've done a whole swarf on what they do and some of the products, so it's quite
excellent.
It is worth pointing out, Matsuura, obviously they've known legacy-wise as CNC machine suppliers, but it's amazing how well they've done, how quickly they've started selling those products.
I mean, it's a lot to do with the not just the product, the guys. You've got Joseph and Peter there that really support them well and are great engineers. Tuesday, we were at Technoset. This is a business in Rugby. They've also got other sites around the UK. A big name in the industry, Technoset. Mark was there talking about Blaser coolants, the Blaser Vasco 7000, which is a high-spec aerospace lubricant. Actually quite apparently expensive, but not expensive, which is a bit of a dichotomy, or however you would best describe it. And you know where I'm going with this one, based on the fact that how efficient it is. It's obviously a better product for them. So there'll be videos coming on that. Also some big investment going on there, potentially new 5-axis machines. So,
Yeah, on the coolant one, somebody tried to get me to explain to them how it worked. The only thing I could come up with, it's like going to a petrol station. I'm talking about, the Blazer here. Like going to a petrol station and having 2 lots of diesel. Diesel A will do 200 miles per gallon or whatever, and the other one will do 50. But the one pro rata works out a lot cheaper. You'd never go and buy the cheap fuel, ever, would you? Because your price per mile, if you like, would be less.
So why don't people all adopt what you're saying there then when it comes to
I don't think people are educated on it. I don't think people can get their head around it, and they think short term.
And I'll tell you what, it is confusing. It is science. It's not like saying, because the price between the barrel and getting it in the sump's different. A 2% mix is cheaper than a 4% mix, even though the barrel's more expensive to start with. It really is quite confusing.
What about the consideration on the wear of the machine tool and things like that as well? Because this is all a big factor, isn't it? All these things have to be thought about when it comes to the efficiency of a product. If you put a decent fuel in a car, the engine lasts a bit longer, doesn't it? I suppose some of these elements run true of that as well, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. And how many times do you go to a machine shop, you can't see through the window, the coolant's dirty, it's groggy, it's smelly. To me, there's no reason not to buy premium, engineering fluids.
So when you go and put your petrol in your car, do you get the super unleaded or do you get the unleaded, or which do you do that?
I don't. I go for the cheap one. I do go for the cheap one.
He doesn't put it in. Shell puts it in.
Yeah. No,
Shell.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's right. I don't. Yeah, I don't believe that. I think that's a bit. I know you get a bit more brake horsepower, but I'm a slow driver in a way. I care for the environment too much. But no, Joe. Yeah. To me, you buy your best coolant. Your business can afford. And it should never be a cheap option.
Yeah.
It's a necessary evil type thing.
Yeah, it'd be great to see those videos. We were also on Tuesday at SMW Auto Block. Gio and Chloe were filming there. Now, we probably don't have to go into too much detail about what those guys supply and what the videos will be about, because whether it's to do with special fixtures or products off the shelf, anything from chucks, vices, tooling, all of that, fixed steadies, all of those things are what SNW are known for, even into grinding and things like that, specialist fixtures, as I mentioned. Before we talk about Wednesday, Joe, just give us a lowdown on the MFG podcast this week, because obviously we do like to cross channels. What's been happening in the manufacturing world? All good?
It's really good. There's good news. Social media's been fairly quiet this week as a whole. The engagement's down. I guess people are on holiday, but yeah, no, there's plenty of good news. So,
and I haven't seen you since you spoke to Kwasi Kwarteng. That was some coup.
Yeah, it was good that they wanted to appear on the podcast and put themselves in the limelight and under a little bit of pressure. Answered our questions well, in truth. I think there's some good news coming in the not too distant, about the industrial strategy replacement. There is something already there, but I think it's going to go one step further.
Do you get any good feedback from him or from government or from how does that?
So we have a number of ministers queuing up, I suppose, for want of a better term. But we need to be careful. We need to be impartial. We're not into politics. But yeah, we've got another 2 or 3 lined up. We're going to have somebody on talking about exports, and we're going to have a couple of the mayors, well-known mayors, talking about their particular region as well. But yeah, there's lots going on. This week's we've had a rival, so they're disrupting the automotive industry, how they go to market with these micro factories. So if they think somebody in a particular city in America, if there's a need for 1,000 vans or whatever the magic number is, they'll build a factory there just for that one city. Wow. They've torn up the rule book.
What to build those 1,000 vehicles there?
Yeah, it would have to be more than 1,000. Yeah. But yeah, so here in the UK,
but they'll build a site in accordance with the demand.
Yeah, so in Europe there'll be a number dotted around Europe, whereas historically you have massive factories and these cars are shipped all over Europe. They think that's wrong for various reasons, environmental. I think they said 2.2 times cheaper to have local factories, so they don't need big infrastructure. They'll go and find a warehouse, fill it full of automation and robots.
And how would they argue against the comment that the carbon footprint of an electric vehicle is worse than that of a diesel car?
I didn't ask them that, to be honest. That when I'm talking about better for the environment, I'm talking about having factories local to where it's a bit like if you want an American car, you have to import from America. Whereas a rival would argue, no, that American car should be made in England, then it should be made in Europe and the Far East. Yeah, I get that. I'm just curious about that question because it often comes up a lot, doesn't it? Yeah, well, the trouble is it's horses for courses. Not all batteries are the same. You hear, but what happens if it goes up in flames? Some people say the fire brigade aren't allowed to put a burning car because of the battery. You can't put it out. And there's a lot of bureaucracy at the moment, but I can't help thinking a lot of it's press. I think, they're here to say electric cars, as we well know.
Yes, yeah. You comfy there, Lyndsey? You all right? You seem like you're moving around a bit.
Don't cough too much, crikey.
We might have to cut this one a bit short today. So coming back on to the plan where we were this week as well, a really brilliant story emerging down on the south coast at Roscomac, where I was on Wednesday. Joe there, the managing director, has invested millions of pounds in machine tools in the last 3 years. He's moved around his entire factory. One of the really great things to hear was, and it probably wouldn't be for the guys that were going to build him a new factory, was the fact that he was looking at expanding his business to buy more machines, to get more and more spindles. And then suddenly he thought to himself, do you know what? Do I need to do that? Why don't I just get rid of some of my older machines and get more sophisticated machines and invest in automation?
Has he been listening to MTDCNC?
He does. He's a big fan. And then I don't need to buy a bigger factory. And what he's actually ended up doing is he's, from having the plans afoot to build a new factory to add more machines in, he's actually now got more machines, more spindles, more automation, and he's got 30% floor space now available in his existing factory for more kit. And he's done that just by actually thinking about using technology to broaden his horizons as opposed to just investing in lots and lots of different spindles. He had an unprecedented year last year for good reasons. When the COVID hit, his business requirements went up fivefold.
Wow.
In the medical sector, he's invested £2 million in Matsura's machines. In their automating technology, their lights out running, and he's also invested in White House Machine Tools in 4 Brother Speedio and fed by Fedio machines, of which you know a lot about, Lyndsey. You've seen them. They are, just masters at producing unmanned lights out running, aren't they?
They are fast machines, and the name says it all. Fedio, feeding the Speedio. They're fast. They're turning centres as well, and if you want, as long as you've got a part that is going to fit on that table, you will churn out parts so quickly, especially when you've got a robot loading 2 machines and then bring them out, putting them on that. I know that there was a conveyor that you were talking about, the vision system.
The in-feed and the out-feed. Yeah. They had an extended in-feed and out-feed conveyor just because they wanted to run overnight. But I love the way you can just drop the parts onto the conveyor. It doesn't matter if they're 5-10 mil out of orientation. The vision system will still come on and see them and put them into the machine. But when you look at the speed the inside of the machine goes, the tool changing time, the chip to chip, it's just like absolute lightning. Yeah. And to be able to turn as well has just changed the way that Roscomac are doing things.
With that style machine, it always amazes me. We'll go and see an 800 metre machine, and quite often they make components the size of your fist, aren't they? I'd be interested to know the industry average size component, and I bet you 80% of it would fit on one of those machines, and a tiny little footprint. Whereas people do like these big heavy-duty machines, don't they?
I think just to add to that as well, when we went to Dugard, they've got the Med Centre, and I think are they kind of trying to attack a similar market with that? But then I remember
you can't turn on that machine. I don't believe
you can't turn on that machine. Okay, yeah.
But it has a similar philosophy in the fact that it's just
medical.
Very, very
that's
fast.
What I'm thinking.
Yeah, they call it the Med Centre, but they shouldn't really, because ever since you did that video, when I was at Dugard a week or so ago, they had more and more people on the day coming in to look at that Med Centre, and that's going to be a very, very popular machine, very, very small footprint as well, and they've got automation added to that now too.
Exactly, but what you're saying is that industry is around about that sized part, and it's growing.
Yes, absolutely.
Fast machines.
It is. Okay, I'm going to try and rattle through these quickly because Thursday we had Zeiss in the studio talking about some of their new products as well, which will be coming to the channel soon. Gio was there. We also have the launch this week of the Milmax product from MSC, which is happening across our channels. You're going to hear and see a lot about this. Joe, you're the best at describing it. Give us a once-over again at what the MillMax is.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So it's a combination of hardware and software and algorithms, essentially. So it's the one thing you can't really tell. You can have two machines side by side that look the same, but the cutting conditions are going to be different. It's a tap test. So you're basically tatting the tooling assembly, cutting tool assembly, including the tool holder, and that's vibration harmonics, which goes back to a laptop or a computer or some sort of handheld device. And essentially, the algorithms calculate the optimum cutting data for that tool.
So what's the problem that people encounter? And that's a question out of your book. What is the problem that this solves?
The problem, I bet you 80% of people wouldn't even know they've got a problem. Traditionally, tool holders may run out, good ones and bad ones, still run out over time. And essentially, you can be cutting on 2 teeth, not 4 teeth. And basically what this does, it doesn't necessarily put anything right. It tells you what the problems are. And it basically, you could talk all day about this subject, but basically it tells you what the correct cutting conditions to run that tool at. Every manufacturer will give you recommended cutting data in the back of their book or on their app nowadays or on their websites. But to be honest with you, it will be maybe 240 to 400, surface speed. Well, clearly that's a big envelope. This software will tell you where you need to run that.
Wow. Okay. You want to be following that launch across our channels. There's going to be a lot happening
Was
with
that a clear
MS.
explanation?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I'm sure the guys from MSC will tell us whether you were right or wrong. But lots happening with MSC at the moment. In fact, I was talking to Doug only earlier this week about an impending move which is happening at some time in the near future for the company. Lots of growth, lots to offer the marketplace, real expertise when it comes to engineering support and business support, as he's told us on many occasions. So keep tuned to see what's happening with the MillMax product from MSC. Kind of in a little bit of a similar vein, the reason we're here today at the Engineering Technology Group is we are promoting a live event which is happening on June the 30th. Lyndsey, you've been talking to Dave Mould today and about what's going to be happening at the event.
Yes.
Dave's quite excited about it, isn't he?
Yes.
In fact, we all are.
We are all excited. It's quite unique, the product that we've seen, but I think that sits a little bit with what you're saying is it's a bit of preventative maintenance, some of the products that he showed us, and he showed about spindle and all that. You're kind of gathering data to make sure that when you are actually cutting, you're cutting it in the best way possible.
What's the event called?
Oh my goodness, probing questions.
Probing questions.
Questions.
Don't ask the date unless you can't remember the name, let alone the date.
The 30th of June.
It's the 30th of June.
Questions.
Probing questions are going to be live here at ETG. Joe, leaning on your expertise once again, this is an area where I believe, from having worked on the shop floor, that people do spend too much time in the machine doing things that can be done in process, don't they? And
Can I say, it's a diagnostic machine. Like you would say a diagnostic machine for a car, it's a diagnostic machine for a spindle.
You're talking about one particular area.
One particular part.
So the thing Lyndsey is on about is basically spindle monitoring. So I actually refer to it as an MOT for your spindle. So at the moment, you're going to do a service inspection on your machine, and obviously, in this case, it would be Engineering Technology Group. I don't know what they can check without this. I don't know how they can really check the spindle. Whereas this, they would basically inspect the spindle. They could find out if it's worn. If it's, I have to say, we did it on the Quasar and it was absolutely perfect.
So this is a Bloom product. I should mention this.
It's a Bloom Novatest product. But it's fantastic. If I was buying a machine, I would want my spindle inspected annually. But it doesn't just say, oh no, you've got a problem. It tells you what it is. Inner bearing, outer bearing. It's very clever. It
was like, I used the analogy when I had a bad back. You have all the different discs in your back, L1, L2, S4, whatever they're called. And a specialist can watch your walk and go, do you know what? Your S4, your L1 is gone. And this, in a similar way, can look at...
Maybe it's got the same software.
I was going to say, is that why you walk funny?
Used to, until they fixed it.
It is worth pointing out the event...
it's not about that, is it?
Probing questions. So it's what I call closed loop in-cycle measurement. Bit of a mouthful, but it's not that complicated, really. Essentially, we've all been out, you CNC machine a component, then you have to check it with your mic, your vernier, your height gauge, your CMM, whatever your mode of inspection is. And probably majority of the time is going to be an error, isn't it, initially? And then you go back, you change your offsets, and you remachine it. What we're aiming to do at this event is do all that autonomously. Autonomously? Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
Autonomous.
Yeah, or automatically. So essentially, we're gonna make a component with a defect. In fact, 2 defects. It's going to be out of tolerance on size and RA, surface finish. Bloom Nova Test, they're going to bring in 2 products into it. They're going to inspect the RA, and that's going to throw up an error, as will the tolerance of the component. It's going to be remachined. The offsets will be changed automatically, no human being present. It will remachine it and it will probe it till it's correct. So essentially, you imagine automation, whereas at the moment you could be making parts all night, potentially all scrap. Them days should be gone.
Yeah, they should be. They should be. And I think it's going to be an event that's going to attract a lot of engineers. But I do think a lot of engineers are using this. But I think there's probably more that aren't.
Well, I think. Just quickly on that, I think the vast majority are doing it, but it just throws up an error, so an alarm. So it says, I've probed this part and it's incorrect. Yeah. It needs operator intervention. There's no need to do that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now also next week, let's come on to next week now, because we've got so much going on. I'm conscious of time here at ETG today, but we're at Unimill, we're at Miniature Machining, we're at Sheldon Engineering, we're at Witten Engineering, we're at Empire Manufacturing, we're at Microlock. We've also got Technical Corners in the studio, and we've also got to be one of the highlights of next week. We've got the event happening at the Myra Technical Institute, which is in Inkley, or it's in Hinkley or Inkley, as Gio describes it. Inkley.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, because you can't say his H's.
So, and that is an event. It's a collaboration between Zeiss, MTD, and
Williams.
And Williams, where we're going to be taking we're going to be taking parts from a Formula One car, and we're going to be looking at how they've been made, some of the machining processes involved in them, some of the issues and the problems that engineers encounter when these parts are being made. But what we are going to do is kind of humanise this event. We're going to talk about us as individuals, our experiences in growing up into the manufacturing world, what we've learned, our apprenticeship days. You're, of course, going to be hosting this, Lyndsey, but it's going to be a terrific event. We're going to have somewhere in the region of between 50 and 80 students attend to come and watch. Wow. It's going to last about 2 hours, but we're going to film the whole lot. So you won't be able to see it next week, because it's actually not going to be published on the channel until a few days afterwards. But it's going to be a really good event. And I think it's going to set the scene for plenty more of these events coming up in the future, because we're all for education here at MTDCNC. We want the youth to be coming into this industry, because, of course, that is our future, in a sense, or certainly the industry's future. So that's all coming up next week. June the 21st is not far round the corner. Do you think it's going to happen, Joe? Are we going to be free?
Really? I don't think it will, no. I think it may do half measures. Maybe you're allowed more in a restaurant, to help that. But personally, I'm not too concerned about having 30 people in my living room. I'm allowed 6 or whatever I'm allowed now.
Pretty big, you could fit them.
No, I could fit them in.
He doesn't have 30 friends, that's why.
You have to go out and find.
Was that tumbleweed? But no, joking aside, I'll be surprised if that happens. That's not to say that's my opinion, by the way, because it's not. But I think there will be a short delay. What do you think?
I think it's one of those decisions that he is really wrestling with between the popular vote, because everybody wants it to happen, and I think, but the science is probably saying to him, do you know what, maybe a few weeks. But I'm reading stories about people that are, theatres that are going to open up regardless. They're just saying enough's enough. Enough is enough. And he said
they have all the rehearsals and stuff. They've got people ready, and they've put all the money into performance. Nightclubs, events. We're heading into the summer now, where
they've got to make a decision, haven't they? Because you think you buy the beer, the food, it goes off.
Yeah, and if you miss the window of the summer of opportunity for an events industry, you might be on those last legs thinking, if we can just get open on the 21st, we've got a good 8 weeks, 12 weeks in front of us of the summer. If that gets put back 3 or 4 weeks, that could be it. Listen, no one wants to be in his position making that decision at the moment, but it will be interesting. Does it have any effect on the hospitals, Lyndsey, at the moment? I don't know. When you have, can you have people in the hospital when you having a baby these days?
When you have a baby, you can have one, but I think I've noticed a real difference. I know...
How many do you want when you're having a baby? You don't want a room full.
No, I've just noticed a huge difference with... I mean, everyone, if you're phoning your GP, it's a good half an hour, 40-minute wait on the phone. People can't get prescriptions. Midwives who I'm dealing with, I think it's really had a major effect. But I also think with midwives, lockdown has increased the amount of babies we'd know.
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
But lockdown definitely has. So.
Yeah. Okay, well. Okay, guys, that's it for this week's On the Road. Now, we're doing this, we do this, as I said, every Friday at 6 o'clock. We've got a busy week in front of us next week. Don't forget to keep tuned to the channel to find out more about this Milmax product that's being launched by MSC across our channels, and plus to obviously keep in touch with all the things that we've spoken about today. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Look forward. Oh, Lyndsey's got one more thing to say.
No, I just wanted to ask you, gout, why does it start in your big toe?
It's where all the crystals are.
Hello and welcome to Gout FM. No, in truth, I've absolutely no idea. I did Google it when I first started getting it. Yeah.
And that's the end.
Joke aside, it's most common joint, not just with me, but it is in your big toe. Yeah, then it's your knee, then it's your ankle. I've had all three now, but I think
that's why you walk funny too.
Yeah. I think our wonderful audience has probably heard enough about gout. But as I say, if there's anything more to report, I'll fill you in next week.
Good stuff. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.